Well, thank you for this really, really thought-provoking presentation of Alex, and all the presentation I heard at 12 o'clock. I was really impressed. So I hope that to give you something that is interesting as part of my experience and my journey. So the title is Making Classroom for AI and CI Beyond the Passive Chatbot in Economic Teaching. And that could also answer your first question, how my pedagogy changed. I think that book that it was just after the COVID crisis, I thought that I had learned everything already. I was not ready for this revolution, So, and during a festival of sustainable education, I had the chance to listen to Sir Anthony Seldon. And I immediately bought the book, saying, "Oh, AI is much older than I thought. It's not just one that came up in November 23 years." And this title, Will AI Liberate or Infantilize Humanity, really caught my attention. And my initial perspective was to put a sort of a band-aid, right? To say, oh, AI may infantilize students if they become too much dependent, if they outsource things, if the AI tells them what to do. So what do I do? My initial response was to redesign some assessment. So I started from the end, the final product, to protect academic integrity, to prevent outsource thinking. And so I produced a type of assessment where they had to critique something generated by AI, a sort of also reverse engineer prompt. But then I realized that assessment alone, it was not enough. The risk of infantilizing students remain if I didn't teach how to use it properly, if I looked just at the final product, if I didn't focus on the learning process, and if I was not preparing them for an AI-enabled world. So I could have been able to remove AI from the exam room, but I couldn't remove an AI from student academic and professional life. So that became my take on I couldn't expect students to become critical, ethical, responsible users. It was not an expectation. I should have it as a learning outcome. And so that changed my view on AI. Let me go to the next. So will AI liberate and infantilize? It depends on how we design the learning in an age of AI so that we prepare them. So my new educational question was, how can I reduce the risk of students getting it done by AI, so infantilize, into how I support students getting it right with AI, so liberate. So I realized that I started from the wrong question. How do I assess in terms of AI, rather than how do I design my learning, the design of their learning, my teaching in the AI era? Clearly, that meant I needed to rethink my entire delivery. I was not ready. I felt I needed a lot to learn. So I did some training, and that started. I tiptoed into AI. It was quite difficult at the beginning. Fortunately, one thing I had done using the TBL, so team-based learning, was a backward design framework, understanding by design, where you have to start from identify what you want to achieve, what you want the student, what skill judgment do I want my student to develop in an AI world, what evidence would I be happy to see so that they demonstrate they have achieved the outcome, and what learning experience, what activities, what material can I provide the student to produce this outcome. And therefore, that the shift in my pedagogy became change approach. I didn't see AI primarily as a tool for producing answers, so replace the learning, but design AI to support, facilitate the learning. And so I used AI as an educational role in the teaching economic, designed as Socratic tutor, a simulator, devil's advocate, source of data, prompts, and feedback. So AI became part of the learning process, not a substitute for it. Want to say, not everything was done with AI. Clearly, I mean, I could use AI to produce a study guide on Canvas, but I produced the video, the slides, everything on my own. And not everything was about AI. In the 2 hours workshop, the first hour was not AI, the second hour was always with AI. So that meant that I needed to produce new material, and I use custom GPT. So I bought a license. Now the university is using Copilot Agent, so I'm also using Copilot Agent, but it's not identical because you cannot upload your own materials. You have to ask the student to upload it. But so I designed the AI environment. I customized GPT for each topic I wanted to cover, define rules and role, and that was possibly the most challenging part I found. Upload the course, and then I test it. And then I would introduce it in class in the second hour. I explain the role, I discuss the ethical rules, I set expectations and boundary. And then I would notice the student interaction. Everything was done in class under my watch. I facilitated AI use. I wanted the student to keep to focus on the task. I wanted them to challenge the AI assumption and the AI reasoning. But what I did at the end of each session, I would ask them, they worked in group because I thought that it would have been easier for them to tackle AI or to interact with AI. And I would ask to send me all the interaction. I shared the link of the custom AI with the student. Okay, so they were working on a sort of protected area. I asked to reflect on what was the role, how they changed the decision based on AI, and everything was submitted to me. I would review every week all the conversation that each group had with AI. I give them feedback and I refine the design, for instance, and that's your second question, scalability and how the learning occurred. I noticed that there was a different way of approaching and interacting with AI from the beginning of week 1 to the end of week 11. I refined design because I thought at the beginning not all people in the group would interact. So I said, no, you need to do this, or it would be best if you question this. And I redefined. And I think I was very surprised when once I structured the AI to make a mistake on purpose. And only one group realized that there was a mistake on AI. So from that point onward, their interaction with AI became much more skeptical because they didn't know if I had done the same. So it was something that, anyway, helped them to be more skeptical or to be more questioning. So this is in practice what I did. I designed the role for being an advocate, devil's advocate. So AI wouldn't provide any answer. It would only be in the second part of the exercise, another member of the group that could only ask questions about the solution that the group had found in the first hour.
Gabriella, you have 2 minutes.
Socratic teacher to guide understanding through questions. So AI would explain in 2 sentences and then would respond with a follow-up question. And I made application to the labor market and AI, Phillips curve dynamics, a simulator. I use this a lot to simulate data. And then what I did, I followed up with the assessment. And this is for students who hadn't done economics before, and this is a type of assessment. So it's only one of the tasks of the many that was in the exam. And then for a higher order reasoning, I asked the student actually to generate, to justify, to formulate policy recommendations. So this is another way of use AI for other or higher order reasoning. So my reflection is that it doesn't have to be a passive machine, answering machine, basically, but with proper design, we can make a classroom for AI and moving beyond the the passive approach, because he can develop critical thinking, questioning, reflection. And that was the feedback I received from the students. They were very happy. All this happened in class, and I could see how students, in a way, were liberated because they could ask effective AI questions at the end, maybe not at the beginning, and maybe with some help, but also they would question the AI answer that they received. And that is my next step, is to help them for being users to creators. So I want to help them to make their own custom GPT, and to also go beyond the classroom to involve them in outreach activity with local school, because I think that this approach with AI cannot be left at the university level. It has to start much earlier on. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for nailing it at 10 minutes.
I will stop the sharing because I noticed that someone asked. Okay. I'll
start from the back of the questions. How many questions can you say a little bit more about the classroom? The size of the class, the demographics, maybe.
Yeah, correct.
So do you think it seems like a fairly small class that you're running this? What is the scalability across large classrooms?
Yes, so it was with 60 students divided in groups. At one point this year, I had fewer students. It was PG. One class had not done any economics, another class had a degree in economics. I also did the assessment and devoted one session for the macro undergraduate. That was more difficult. So it can be done if you divide into seminar group and small group. And it can be done if you divide a student in groups and you observe them in class. It's not that has to be done in every module. And Alex showed that actually I also believe that some modules have to go pen and paper. But it can be done at the program level. So if that becomes part of one of the learning outcome, how to use AI, it can be scalable, and it requires resources, but it can be done by having maybe a seminar of 2-hour seminar and having groups and offer this custom AI link to the student. Copilot agent works. It requires more work than I found than the custom GPT, because clearly ChatGPT, what it wants to give a lot of information. So putting the boundaries. I remember one time being very frustrated and said, I told you not to give these answers. And having the reply say, I have to check my internal consistency. So you need sometimes to code it, actually, in order to create the boundaries. But then they work. I mean, when I said you shouldn't give any interpretation of the simulation, for example, they did also diff on the labor market and AI, and I said specifically never ever interpret the result. And also for the assessment, they can only use the link I gave, and in the assessment, they had to provide the prompt and the interaction. And I gave 5 marks for that when they provide that evidence. So you asked, what do they learn? I think that I've seen the students have learned to be more confident about AI. Some of them started with being worried. But all of them at the end had very positive feedback, saying that they had learned that actually you can interact in a critical way with it. Particularly after I put that mistake on purpose on the custom AI, they realized that they had to be very skeptical. AI has become better, but not more reliable. So it can do more things, but nevertheless, it's still risky. So I think they've learned this. They've learned that in terms also of employability, they will be expected. And this time, it's not like me expecting them to use AI without teaching. I think employers already expect them to be able to use it in a proper way, in a more and there was one thing in the presentation of Sir Anthony Seldon. They said there will be two types of individuals: those who will be told by AI what to do, and those who will tell AI what to do. And certainly, in my view of as an educator, I wanted to educate the second type of citizens. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, perhaps you did. And but there's a different perspective on this. If we want to also educate our colleagues about how to use AI for their own classrooms, but that involves creating a buy-in from our colleagues. And which brings me to Claudia's question about, are you alone in your department in doing an approach like that? And how do you create that buy-in? And my feeling is that you would be able to easily create the buy-in if, for example, you offer a time-saving mechanism for them, because academics typically care about research time. So is there a way to incorporate your approach, but at the same time save colleagues time when they do that?
Okay, at the beginning, it is an investment. It does require time. And then as you move into this, it's a learning process. It was a big learning process for me. I'm not a high-tech person. So what I offered them, I offered some at the seminars. I offered to show my custom AI, so to use my, because you have to write quite a longer code for AI to act the way you want. So I offered, this was actually, colleagues did take that seriously, and we had a lot of discussion at the department level. Also because in our department, in our university, they use 3 different ways of assessing: one without AI, one allowed AI, and one you can use AI. And so that, and because most of our classes do not have final exam, like unseen examination, clearly colleagues were very interested in understanding how to assess. But I say assessment is the last step that you need to do. You need to do some work in class before. And so I offered material, I offered seminar, I offered some training. I mean, I'm not an expert at all, but I could offer my experience, and I had particularly the young colleagues that are enthusiastic about. Yeah,
they're excited. They typically have a lot of energy to invest in these things, as you say. As you said, this is an investment. So there's lots of interesting students coming in, questions coming in the chat, and some of them are about trade-offs between content and these AI activities. Have you sacrificed content in favor of bringing these activities in, or perhaps is there a different place in the program where a module like that or a design like that can be placed? And I'm sure you can benefit from scanning these questions. But now we need to move on to the